Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and we're here today going to look at the first Swedish tank in the game, which is the Strv M4257, which is a Tier 6 medium tank, and the first, well, Tier 6 premium medium tank, and it's the first Tier 6 premium to have an auto-loading gun, which is the 75mm, which is good in some aspects, but not quite so good in others. And of course, we're here 9.16. So first up, we're going to look at the basic stats, and then we're going to compare it using the new compare tool that's inbuilt in World of Tanks. So starting up here, we're going to look at the survivability. In fact, we can just do it here. So what I've done is I've brought up all of the comparisons. What I've got here is I've added all of the Tier 6 Premium Medium tanks that I could think of, and we're just going to compare them all. So, starting up here, this is how they look with just the base stats here. So, what I've got is the Strv, I've got the Skoda, I've got the T-3485M, the AC-4, the Cromwell B, the Panzer IV-S, and we also have this, the Fury. So, taking a look here at firepower, let's start up looking at survivability. So the highest on survivability is the 3485M due to that 75mm frontal armour, which has got a 93 overall survivability. If we drop it down here, we can see that the most HP out of any of these vehicles is the Fury, along with the Cromwell B and the AC-4. Oh yeah, I've also added the Rudy in here, which has got 78 survivability. So, as you can see, the AC-4, Cromwell B and the Fury head up the top of the table with 750 HP, which is closely followed by the Panzer IV-S, then it comes to the two T-34s, and then it comes down to the Skoda and the Strv, which has got the joint least amount of HP with 700. As for the armour, you've got the most armour at the front is the Panzer IV-S with 80 frontal hull and 120 frontal turret due to that short-term frontal turret. That is closely followed by the frontal armour of the T-3485M. And the side armour, the Rudy, comes up top with 45 side hull armour. However, none of these tanks really have particularly great armour. The Fury has got pretty good all-round turret armour, 63 all-round, 63 front, 38. As for our own Strv, well, 55 frontal hull, 30-20 sides and rear, 40 turret, 20, and if we have a look here, there is some. This is an auto-loading tank, so it does have the French style of turret, which is sloped at a fair angle here. Also, you've got this sort of frontal slope here, but really at 55, 30, 20 and 40, 20, 20, you're not really going to get anything other than an extreme angle ricochet. So, yeah, the survivability not great. Now, if we come on to mobility here, as you can see, the Strv has got the best, has got the least amount of weight, with 25.6 with 29 load limit. The most weighty vehicle here is, I think, the Skoda. Yeah, the Skoda with 40 tons of tank, but it does have the best load limit, obviously. As for engine power, it's a pretty weedy engine, to be honest. Pretty weedy engine. I mean, 340 horsepower for a 25.6 ton tank is not that great. The Skoda does lead with a 700 engine power. As for horsepower per ton ratio, the Cromwell B, of course, takes the cake for that. Yeah, none of these tanks really have particularly great power to weight. I mean, the Panzer IV-S is even worse with 300 horsepower for a 29.9 ton tank, so that's not great. So yeah, as for top speed, Cromwell V obviously takes that. 45 kilometers an hour for the Strv is pretty slow. 48 for the Panzer IVS, 41 for the Fury, so Fury's even less, so that's not a particularly fast tank, with an 18 kilometers per hour reverse speed. The Rudy does reverse at pretty good rate, as does the AC4, which has also got a pretty good top speed. However, it never usually reaches that top speed. So this tank also has got pretty good reverse, 20 kilometers an hour, but as for, yeah, that's not great. Obviously the Cromwell B is the best turning. It's a Cromwell B, they're OP. This has got a 39.63 degrees per second reverse speed, so yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's almost 40 degrees per second. I mean, that's decent enough. It's not like you'll be circle strafing anyone with this horrible power to weight ratio, so yeah. Now we move on to concealment. It's got 17.3 concealment rating. Well, the Cromwell B only just beats it, but then it is a Cromwell B, so I mean, at least it's not as bad as, you know, the Panzer IVS, which has got a 12.9, because that's a pretty big tank. You can easily spot that. So yeah, it's a decent enough camo rating compared to these other tier 6 premium mediums. I mean, it's not that bad. Now we move on to the spotting, and well, 350 meters view range isn't that great, and the signal range is pathetic with 400 meters. I mean, that's terrible view range. That's, you know, even the T-34-85M has got a better signal range. Yeah, and the Russians haven't been known for their radio, so yeah, it's pretty terrible signal range. I mean, it's got pretty bad view and signal range. I think we can just leave it at that. So yeah, at least the Cromwell B doesn't come top in that category. It does in almost everything else, but as for view range, the Panzer IVS and the Fury sort of take the cake there in signal range, in view range, along with the Skoda. But the Skoda leaps ahead in signal range with 641 signal range. So yeah. But now we come to the firepower, and this is where the Stridswagen is unique, because it has an autoloader, which no other tier 6 medium, premium medium tank has. It's good in some aspects, but not quite so good in others. I mean, standard shell damage, of course, the Skoda takes the cake with its 88mm gun, which has got, 220 standard damage and 145 average pen. But as for penetration, of course, the AC4 takes the cake for that. But as for this tank, if we bring up the gun here, as it loads, here we go. So if we bring up the gun here, which is a 75, it's a 75mm auto-loading gun, which has got 4 shells in the magazine. But here is where it falls down, which is the load time for a single shell and a load time for the complete shell loading. So it's a 4-shot magazine, but it takes 2 seconds for each shell to go into the breech, and it takes 16 whole seconds to complete the load cycle, which for 4 shells isn't that great. 16 seconds for 4 shells. The 1357 can load, I think 8 or 9 shots in that time. So, but then it is a smaller caliber. But even so, I mean, that's not that great. Which means that it does have a pretty bad average DPM of 1,700 because it takes so long to load these shells. It's just it negates the good points of the gun. 148 average penetration is pretty good for a tier 6 medium, with 190 with APCR. It has good average damage, comparable to something like the Firefly or the AC4 Experimental, for example, who have also got pretty good average damage for a tier 6 medium. I mean, you know, 150 average damage is pretty good. The accuracy is also alright, 0.35, 2.3 second aim time. So yeah, the aim time's fairly standard, the accuracy is alright, it's just the load time that is the problem. 2 and 16, not great. Would be better if it was something like 1.5 along with something like 12 seconds maybe. But as it stands, it can clip like something like 600 HP, so you know, average damage. So yeah, the average damage is good over those 4 shots. However, the 16 seconds is not particularly great. We compare it to the other tanks here. Yeah, so it doesn't actually have a reload time, as you can see. The turret traverse is also not that great, 33.38, which is in line with the Skoda here. Obviously, the Cromwell takes the cake with that one with a 50 degrees per second, but the AC4 is not that far behind, only 5 or so seconds. I mean, the 3485M has also got pretty good turret traverse, as does the Rudy, but 33 degrees per second isn't that quick of a gun traverse, to be honest. I mean, also the gun depression -6 is alright, but again, doesn't really stand out. 12 gun elevation is also not great. The 3485M does have a very good gun elevation of 25 degrees. The AC4 has got very good gun depression of -10. As does the Fury. The Fury tops out at -10 and 25, so that's got a very good gun elevation depression. So, as does the Rudy, to be honest, -7 and 22. But as for our Strv, yeah, not great. Obviously, it's going to come top in magazine loading because, well, none of these tanks use other magazines. So, yeah. As for the aim time, 2.21 seconds. Yeah. It's the same as the Skoda. It's also the same as the Cromwell B. The AC4 experimental takes the cake for that, with a 2.01 seconds aim time. But it's in line with the Panzer IVS, the Fury, the Rudy. So yeah, it's standard aim time. It doesn't really stand out anywhere. But as for dispersion, 0.04, it's even better than the Cromwell, which is amazing because considering the fact that it's a Cromwell, it's amazing. Panzer IVS has got the same dispersion, and they've got pretty good dispersion ratios here. But here's where it falls down, which is the average DPM. Average DPM here is only 1,600, with the Cromwell B doing 2,100, with the most being the Fury, 2,181. The Rudy does 1,800. Yeah, Panzer IVS also does around that, as does the AC4. I mean, even the Skoda, almost 2,000. So, average DPM is the lowest out of any of these tanks, which is the downside to this magazine that it has, which is that, well, it's not a particularly great magazine loading gun. It's got, like I said, pretty good shell damage. It's also got pretty good shell penetration. However, it's the load time that's the problem. So, yeah, overall, on this tank, I would say gun is unique, most certainly. It's certainly very unique for tier 6, and it is a good gun. However, it's not that quick at firing. The DPM is low, but the average damage is pretty high for tier 6 medium. As for equipment, I've fitted improved vents, obviously, because, you know, improved vents. So, improved vents to get that magazine loading down. Yeah, 15 load speed, 2 and then 4. So, yeah, with the Brothers in Arms plus the improved vents. Then got coated optics because, well, 350 meters view range isn't that great. As for Camonet, you could do. Camonet binos probably is not a bad choice. I mean, yeah, you could certainly go with Caminet binos. I mean, it has pretty good accuracy, so it's certainly an option. Wet Amarok, in case you keep getting your Amarok damaged, obviously. Enhanced suspension, you could do if you want to be barreling around like a medium. You don't really have the turret traverse or the what is it, mobility really to actually do that. You don't have the top speed, so yeah, you want it more for the low capacity and suspension durability. So yeah, it's up to you. Spool owner, definitely not with this armor. Gun lane drive, you don't need it. At least, yeah, 2.3 aiming time is fairly standard aim time, to be honest. Tanks filled with CO2. You know, if you keep getting set on fire, go ahead and put that on. Toolbox, yeah, it's always useful. Then you've got your standard consumables here. You can hold up to 60 rounds of ammunition, which is a fair amount considering that you only fire four in a magazine, so you have plenty of reloads in here. I fitted 2 magazine fulls of APCR just in case, because 148 damage isn't quite 148 penetration isn't quite enough to get through the front of an OI, so I've just gone ahead and put on some APCR just in case. Doubt I'll ever use them, but there you go, they're just in case. Now, it has got a crew of 3, which for training your Swedish crew isn't that many. You know, you can see where you'd have a crew. You'd have 1 there, probably 2 in the turret. So there's your 3 crew, which does mean that your commander is also your radio operator, and he is also one of your loaders. So as for your commander, the pack that I got, he came with Brosnan arms already. Also, I'm training in 6th Sense because with this armor you can't afford to take a hit, not with the hit points. It's very low hit points and very thin armor, which means a couple of shots and you're dead because you don't have the HP to survive those shots. So I'm training 6th Sense. Safe stowage you could go with, just in case. Yeah, safe stowage in case your Amarok keeps getting damaged, pretty much. Adrenaline rush, yeah, you could do. Because you don't have much health, so anything to speed up the reload of your magazine, sure, go with that. Intuition, because I can understand carrying around a couple of APCRs, so if you want intuition, but unless you're going like a lot of APCR, then I'd say probably no. Signal boosting, definitely you'll want to go with signal boosting. Situational awareness as well, probably going to be one that you'll want to beeline for. Call for Vengeance if you want. Relay, once you've got signal boosting, only go with relay then, because you don't have a lot of radio range. So yeah, signal boosting, then relay if you want. Then Eagle Eye is always useful. Jack of all trades if you want. Recon, definitely go ahead and put that on. And then Mentor, I don't really see the point in. Then you've got your common skills. So now we come to the gunner / loader. Well, one of them. So I'm training Deadeye. Once again, you've got your standard loader things. Then Snapshot, you could go with. Armour, if you want, if you really don't want to spend a repair kit. Designate Target, yeah. If you still have shots in your magazine, if it's like your last shot, then not going to be useful to you, but you could go with that. Or common skills. And then, well, finally, your driver. I'm training off-road driving because, well, it's always useful. You don't need clutch braking. Off-road driving, I feel, is more useful than clutch braking because it does have pretty good traverse speed already, so I'd say probably no need to go with clutch braking. Preventive maintenance in case you keep getting set on fire. Smooth ride, in case you do have to circle strafe people, then sure you could go with smooth ride. Controlled impact, no. You don't have the weight nor the armor to survive ramming things, nor the health, so don't go with controlled impact. Then you've got your common skills. So overall, I think it is decent enough Tier 6 medium. It's by far not the best Tier 6 medium. However, it's also not really the worst tank. I do like it. I mean, the autoloader is good in certain situations. Yeah, I would prefer to have the reload time better, but the average damage is good. The average penetration is alright. It's not particularly great. You will need some APCR for some heavy tanks, but yeah, the maneuverability is not particularly great. But if you can get yourself on the flanks, then you can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time with your autoloader. Just be wary of your reload time. So yeah, the Strv M4257. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.